How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kale. Today we're going to be taking a metaphorical jump across the pond and work on something that I've never really worked on before. Well, we're not actually going across the pond because I'm still here sweating in my shop, but we are going to be working on this Triumph TR6. So I know pretty much nothing about these cars. Friend got it and it doesn't run. So the guy that had this car before, he bought it in the late 80s, I'm told. Drove it a bunch, and then somewhere in, I'm thinking the late 90s, he stopped driving it, put it into a storage unit, and it sat there for about 20 years. No real good indication why he stopped driving it. As far as I know, it ran and drove when parked. As you can see, it was last inspected in 96. And on the back, we've got the license plate was last registered in 99. So that was when they were still putting stickers on license plates. So in theory, this car should start without really any issue at all. The goal is just to get it, running, driving, and, my friend says he's going to sell it. So the very first thing I would normally do in one of these situations is try to power the engine over, but I was looking earlier, and as you can see, I've got nothing to put a socket on or anything. If you can look really close down in there, there isn't even a bolt on the edge of the crankshaft. So plan two, I'm going to put a new battery in. This car actually came with what I think is a relatively new battery. Because it's charging right now, but it's not really taking the charge. So I think it's a pretty fresh battery. So this guy probably has some intentions of driving it sometime soon in the near future. So we're gonna put a new battery in. We're gonna take that old battery out, put a new battery in, turn the key, and at least hopefully this thing will turn over a bit, and then maybe we can work on trying to get this thing to run. All right, new battery in. Heard a little bit of a clicking sound when I put it in. That's another thing about this car. It's actually really, really clean, especially on the inside. The seats aren't really hammered. All right, so where's the key? Key's down here. Nothing. Oh, that's unfortunate. I got nothing. So either the engine's locked up or this battery doesn't have a charge on it. All right, let's see what we got here. Ignition lights on. It's a good sign. It turns over. Kind of slow, could be the battery, but that's good news. All right, so now that it turns over, going to check fluids, all of them. Take the air cleaner off over there so I can shoot some starting fluid in it, see if it will light off, and then if that's the case, I think I'll also, while I'm at it, take the fuel line off of that and stick it into a jerry can, just so it can suck some sort of gas. And I don't know, that's promising. It maybe will run. I may need to get a new battery though. So let's hope it all goes well. All right, so I checked all the fluids, topped off the coolant, and I checked the brake, checked the clutch, they're all good. I put my little jerry can here full of gasoline out of the filter, which I'm glad I did that because that gas stinks. That gas is horrible. And now, ready to give it a little squirt of go-go juice. See if this thing will start. Oh, just give it a nice healthy amount there. Let's see if this will work. Now we're going to try this again. Got the charger hooked up. So as you saw, I was having some trouble. I kept cranking and cranking and still wouldn't start. So I checked spark. I pulled the spark plug out. I didn't have spark at the spark plug. I pulled the cap off to look to see if I had spark in the points. This does have a points distributor. It did not. So I then pulled the feed off from the coil. That's this wire. And I tried grounding that to see if I got spark, and I did not. So that led me to the coil was bad. It looked like the original coil, so I'm not really surprised that it went bad after sitting this long. So I ran to Napa, got a new coil. Of course, it didn't match the old coil. You can see the difference. The old coil had push-on connectors. The new coil has stud connectors. So I just had to put some new connectors on the wires that were there. And I tested again. I took the cap off, checked for spark at the points, and I had spark. So now I should have spark at the plugs, and now it should at least try to do something, whereas before I wasn't trying to do anything. So let's give this a shot. All right, there you have it. I gave it a little ether and it finally started to crack off where before it wasn't going to do anything. So now I'm going to put this piece of hose just into a jerry can, just so that it can be sucking on some fuel. The fuel that was in the tank smells like it's kind of bad, so I may just run it off the jerry can, but that's good news right there. Once to go, I can hear it. I smell fuel, so it's getting those. The battery's just a little weak. I don't know if the starter's bad on this or something, but it, it doesn't really crank over as fast as it should. As fast as I think it should, so. So I want to explain the last two clips because I don't think it's going to be too clear if I don't explain it. So the first clip that you just saw was me trying to get this TR6 engine started. And as you can see, I was having a lot of trouble doing it. It just wasn't cranking over as fast as it should. I was hitting it with as much ether as I could. I had the electric fuel pump pumping a lot of fuel in there, and it still wasn't really spinning over as fast as I think it should have. So I did eventually get it running, as you saw, but then I heard this awful squeak, and then I had to figure out what that was right away. So I got out and I started doing some investigation, and then it stalled. I thought about it a little bit more, and so what I thought it most likely could be was a belt rubbing or squealing. That's the sound. That's what it sounded like to me at first. So then I knew that it wasn't the alternator because I tried cranking before and I could see the alternator spinning, so I knew it wasn't the crank because obviously that was spinning the belt. It sounded a lot like a power steering squeal, and this does not have power steering, so I knew it couldn't be that. The only thing left was then the water pump. So before the second clip, I took the belt off, which you guys didn't get to see. So then it was just hanging there, and I verified that indeed the water pump was completely seized up. It wasn't moving at all. And while I was doing that, my dad came down and he says, well, why don't you try starting it without the belt on? I was like, okay, you know, I didn't think about that. So that was a great idea. Car fired right up. I didn't even get it on video because I didn't expect it to do anything. It fired right up, and it was running great, you know, with that water pump. So that water pump was causing a lot of the issue with it not wanting to start earlier. And then after it fired right up, I turned it off because like, all right, this is great. You know, it didn't have the water pump on, so I didn't want to run it for a long period of time. And then my dad goes, oh, well, why don't you try moving it, putting it in gear and see if it moves. I'm like, okay, why not? So I handed my phone off and got a video, not even of the start that time, was just moving it back and forth, which was a huge success. So I hope that clears up the two videos a little bit, because I know I didn't really speak much in those videos and it didn't make very much sense. So now that hopefully I cleared that up, we're gonna get back to wrenching. I'm gonna try to pull the water pump off and then see if I can free it up. And if that doesn't work, then I might have to replace the water pump. So all right, so I got the water pump off, and now you can see, just shot a little penetrating oil in that little hole in there, and now it spins free. So we'll put it back in and hopefully this thing will run well. All right, let's go for a drive in the TR6 for the first time in 20-ish years. See if it moves anywhere. Considering it hasn't been on the road for 20 years. I smell gas, but gauges all look good. Third gear. That's pretty cool. From storage unit to on the road again. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you do, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope to do more episodes like this. I'll keep you guys involved. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.